Sköll Hati at Gyeongju World is the only single rail coaster in South Korea, and I think it's the country's best steel coaster. This is a Rocky Mountain construction Raptor. It features the exact same layout as Stunt Pilot and Fire Runner, but it runs a bit differently than those two coasters. I will explain why in this review. Rocky Mountain Construction, or RMC, is a roller coaster manufacturer based out of the United States. As a result, a majority of their coasters have been built in North America. Only two have been built in Asia. One was an iBox hybrid coaster in Hakuge at Nagashima Spa Land. The other is an RMC Raptor that's the subject of this video, Skoll Hati. RMC debuted the Raptor model in the mid-2010s. This single rail coaster offered a unique riding position for guests and minimized costs for parks. The first two Raptors opened in 2018. They were Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, and Railblazer at California's Great America. This layout was praised for its intensity, but it had a dreadfully low throughput due to the 8-person trains. So RMC iterated on the original layout by offering longer trains. To account for this, they had to adjust a few elements. Stunt Pilot received a version with 10-person trains in 2021. Gyeongju World received a clone of this in 2024 with Skoll Hati. Then 2025, Lost Island opened Fire Runner, which extended the train even more to 12 people. But back to Skoll Hati. This is placed at the right edge of the park in the back of Draken Valley. It is lightly themed to mythology about two wolves chasing the sun and moon, hence the awesome looking wolf statues by the entrance. The station looks great as well with its rockwork and brickwork. There isn't too much else to see though, but the coaster itself looks striking on its own. These Raptors look cartoonish between their slender track and lightning quick pacing. I love it. The trains whip through the layout seemingly defying the laws of friction. And this one features vibrant red track that looks great on a clear day. And you want to make sure you visit on a clear day. This park does not operate their coasters in the rain. This policy is shared with most other coasters in South Korea. And I've heard it takes a while for Gyeongju World to reopen their coasters after the rain stops. So plan accordingly if there's rain in the forecast. Going into my visit, I had been warned that the coasters at Gyeongju World had poor throughputs. They have multiple trains for their major coasters, but they typically run just one train and everything. That was the case in my visit on a summer weekday. This was particularly problematic for Skoll Hati given how the train seats just 10 guests single file. The crew could check the restraints at a respectable pace once everyone was seated. It just took a while to get to that point. Beyond the small train, the ride was not loaded efficiently. None of the coasters of this park will admit guests into the station until all the prior guests have left the unload platform. I'm not sure if this is for safety reasons or anti-theft purposes, but it definitely slows the dispatches down. Most of the Raptors have moving load platforms to speed up operations. This gives guests and employees a sense of urgency. Skoll Hati does not have this. The train parks for loading and unloading. As a result, this coaster had a 45 to 60 minute wait for much of the day. I saw one of those dreaded 90 minutes from this point signs in the queue, so I suspect it could be even worse on a weekend or holiday. If you arrive at opening, I strongly recommend heading to this coaster immediately. I was able to get 3 laps in the first half hour by doing this. Once people made it over there, it maintained a steady line for the rest of the day. One popular approach with a slow-moving queue at most parks is to save it for the end of the night, but you cannot do that reliably here. Gyeongju World will close the queues early, so the final train for everything goes out exactly at park close. Skoll Hati closed its queue at least a half hour early on the day I visited. While the queue for Skoll Hati moves slowly, most of it is at least shaded, and the section of switchbacks were built with benches. Yes, you heard that right. Physical benches were built into the queue itself. Whenever you see that, you know a line is going to move glacially slow. At the end of the queue, the employees admitted just enough people into the station to fill the next train. Seating is then on a first-come basis. As with the other Raptors, I think this coaster is significantly better in the back row. The ride is way more intense there. Typically, the first group admitted would select the front, and then the second group would select the back, but it can vary group to group. It is worth noting you cannot wait an extra cycle if the seat you want has already been occupied. This policy is shared in all the park's coasters. That's why it's a good idea to head to Skoll Hati early, so you can at least give yourself a few tries to get that back row. This coaster, like many in South Korea, asks guests to remove everything from their pockets to ride. There are free storage bins on the unload platform. You actually can wear glasses in this coaster though, which is a rarity for a lot of Asian parks. Riders are secured by overhead lap bars with shoulder straps. These are the newer ones found on the later Raptors. They are comfortable enough, but I do wish those straps were not there to make the already potent forces even crazier. The only slightly uncomfortable part of the seating is how you have to position your legs. The trains straddle the track, so you need to sit with your legs on the outside and your knees pointed inwards. It is not a natural position. It is fine for one ride, but you may start to feel it in your hips if you stay in this position for an extended period of time. Now I will run through the layout. Since I have ridden all the other Raptors, I will be sure to compare this coaster to the others with a base layout as I go along. Once dispatched, you roll forwards and have a 105-foot or 32-meter tall lift hill. I love the views in the ascent. You get a nice view of the park off to your left, then from the top, you are looking towards a beautiful lake. You then navigate a flat leftward turn. It looks unassuming, but is very compact, so it actually offers some weak laterals. Then you are hurtled over a 78-degree near vertical drop. This offers some hang in the front, but it's way better further back. You get solid ejector in the middle rows. Then it's truly epic in the back row. You get very strong and sustained ejector airtime there. And then you are slammed back into your seat on the pullout when you experience great positive Gs. This drop felt identical to the one on Stunt Pilot. Fire Runners is a bit better due to the 2 extra cars. I also prefer the drops in the original 2 Raptors. It is even wilder there. Even though the trains are shorter, there's a hump into the drop, so you're thrown upwards more at the start. And that drop is steeper at 90 degrees. Next is a dive loop. The flip offers nice laterals in the front. In back, you get a little float over the top, followed by solid laterals on the descent. Then everyone gets more positive Gs in the pullout. I much prefer the dive loops in the original 2 Raptors. There, you do not start the twist until you're at the apex of the element, so you basically have a half camelback followed by a sharp rotating plunge. This results in powerful ejector airtime before being hit with intense laterals. On the other Raptors, you start the twist in the ascent. This designs out the airtime. It also weakens the laterals because you have more time to complete the rotation. Now I will say the dive loop in Skoll Hati was somehow better than the ones on Stunt Pilot and Fire Runner. Those other 2 rides did not have notable laterals like Skoll Hati. Next is an S-Hill. This offers incredible sustained ejector airtime all across the train. It is particularly potent in the back though, because of how viciously you are yanked upwards. At the same time, you also get some laterals. I think the airtime here is amazing on all the Raptors. The newer ones have you banked sideways at the apex, which does lessen the laterals. On Wonder Woman and Railblazer, you are level at the apex, so the side-to-side shift has to be more sudden. Next is an upwards turnaround. This is the best spot on the ride for positive Gs. I would always gray out here from the strong and sustained Gs, particularly towards the front of the train. This felt way faster in Skoll Hati than Fire Runner and Stunt Pilot. It felt closer in speed to the original 2 Raptors. That added speed would carry through the second half. The turnaround drop is another powerful moment. You get a genuinely good ejector pop in front, but it's absolutely unhinged in the back row. It is one of the most abrupt and extreme instances of ejector airtime. This is even wilder than the same drop on the original 2 Raptors because you have those extra 2 rows. I think row 10 Skoll Hati feels similar to row 12 in Fire Runner. That sort of highlights the added speed between those 2 rides. This drop is very good in Stunt Pilot, just not otherworldly. You then hurtle through a cutback. This is quick, so it does not offer any hang time like Stunt Pilot. It does have an awesome head chopper at the station though. It really catches you off guard because of how you're suddenly rotated towards it and cannot see it coming. This is similar to what Fire Runner does with its station as well. Next is a corkscrew. This too is quick, but you get some floater airtime in the rear rows. This again is most notable for a head chopper. You narrowly avoid a tree branch in the exit. I think this element is actually a bit better than the other Raptors, because there, you take it with a bit less speed, so you get more hang time. Then you rip around a low turn, experiencing good positive Gs. This is more powerful than the comparable turn in the other Raptors. You have so much momentum here. Then you fiercely jump up into the brakes. This offers a nice ejector pop in the front. Towards the back, it is more of a diagonal airtime pop, but it still feels wild due to the odd direction your body is being flung. This is closer in power to the original two Raptors than the newer two ones. You then hit the brakes and return to the station, ending the 1,950 foot or 594 meter long experience. It is worth noting that it's the same track length as Fire Runner, but 150 feet longer than Stunt Pilot, Wonder Woman, and Railblazer. I get why the track would differ from the latter two given how the elements were reprofiled, but I was surprised it differed that much from Stunt Pilot, but that could just be a reporting error. However you slice it though, this is a short ride. Drop to brakes is roughly 25 seconds. That is the ride's biggest con in my opinion. Part of the reason it ends so prematurely is because of the pacing. This is one of the fastest paced coasters on the planet. You haul start to finish. This feels out of control like the original two Raptors. What about the smoothness? I personally think all the Raptors are smooth, but some do have slight bangs and vibrations when navigating over track joints. No issue for me, but I know some have more of an issue with this. Skoll Hati is immaculately smooth. I'm not sure if it was fabricated differently or not, but this seemed to run better than usual. What would I rate Skoll Hati? I would give this coaster a 9 out of 10. This is an excellent coaster. I absolutely love its tenacity and pacing. There are some out of control airtime moments, particularly if you're in that back row. Then the turns and inversions are brilliantly mixed in. The main reason I'm docking a point is simply because of the length. It is over way too quickly. I think this is the best steel coaster in South Korea, and an absolute must for thrill seekers if you find yourself there. How does this compare to the other base Raptor layouts? I would say this is close in quality to Fiesta Texas's Wonder Woman and California's Railblazer. I give a slight edge to those rides because of the superior dive loop though, but again it's close. I think Skoll Hati is a bit better than Fire Runner due to the faster second half. Then I definitely would take this over Stunt Pilot. I don't know why that one seems to run much slower than the others, but it's definitely noticeable. And in case someone asks, I did ride Stunt Pilot on a warm summer day, so I do not think weather was the issue. Those are my thoughts on Skoll Hati, the RMC Raptor at Gyeongju World. What are your thoughts on this coaster? How do you think it stacks up to the other Raptors? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.